Good good afternoon. Good afternoon, we the people of the 1915. How are you all doing this afternoon?
I hope you guys can hear us.
How are you doing, Frank?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know,
We are excited. We have a big show this afternoon. We have special guests that made time to be in our show this day.
Yes.
So we want to thank each and every one of them. And we have a big surprise, Frank. I told you I was gonna give you a big surprise, right?
And our hot topic. What's the topic?
Our topic for today is going to be back to school.
Back to school.
Back to school.
It's time to go back to school.
Yes. So many people from El Paso have questions for our viewers. And at the same time, they're going to be experiencing, they're going to be hearing their point of view.
Awesome.
We have experts on the show.
Awesome.
We're the hosts. We're going to be asking them questions. We're going to be having parents from different districts and the surprise.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
How are you kids doing? They're ready for school?
Yes, they're ready.
All right.
I told them that they had this week just to mess around, play Fortnite for the last time, and to get serious with school. It's going to be a little bit different, but I think they're ready to take the challenge.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Yes, Rico. So who do we have on the who's our first caller?
Our first caller, his name is Frank Mendez.
Okay, let's check in with Frank Mendez.
Mr. Mendez.
I was a teacher for 2 years. I got to teach in Irving, Texas. So I was a second grade bilingual teacher at one time. So I kind of see both worlds of the teacher and as a parent now of the effects of everything that's going on.
Okay, good to know. So you've been in the classroom before, so you know that feeling, right?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for you. Our first question is, what changes do you want to see during the lessons on your child's virtual learning?
All right, that's kind of like not a trick question, but it's something I really looked into personally, what we experienced here in our home with our children, and then above all, generally with other kids, and then being a former teacher as well. I think we need to discuss how the personal growth and experiences during this time can affect the children and the way they learn. Right. So what we want to be able to see from the teachers to prepare kids. Not just what they go through with something like, in school, but with something like this we're experiencing right now with COVID is how do we prepare? We need to prepare our children for these types of experiences. What I did notice is that a lot of children are coming in with, and just with mine and own, their way of doing classroom is based on a syllabus or based on an agenda. And the way they look at their education is that, at this certain time, at this certain place, this is how you're going to learn. Where virtual has changed them completely and says, you got to be here at a certain time, but you don't have to be here for that long as you do this. And so that in itself has changed them on how they accomplish. So right now, most of the kids want to accomplish a task that's already been assigned. Good example, my daughter, my oldest daughter was like, oh, look, I got the assignments for the whole week. She would concentrate so much on them, she would be done in 1 or 2 days. So she could have the rest of the week off. Only attend class when she needed to because she already had that. So my daughter looked like she was going to college, if anything else. So I think we need to teachers need to teach these kids how to live outside of school. I think with social networking and now social distancing, it's making our kids separate themselves even more from, everyday things to do, like learning from everything from cooking to cleaning a room to washing a dish. So I'm hoping with now that they're able to change that.
Okay, good answer. Thank you. Do you think your child or your children will last 8 hours on their Chromebooks or laptops for this virtual learning?
No, definitely not. Look, I mean, I'm an adult and I work remotely. I have the privilege of working remotely from a desktop every day, and I can't tell you, I cannot last 8 hours on my chair. There's no way that could happen. I need to, I have to have gaps long enough to be able to take care of course, my personal, things, and then as well, make sure that I am not taking an unhealthy track in my life. But you know what? There's different things that affect these kids. It's their environment, noise, lighting, desks, seating arrangements. So that doesn't help them a lot when they're trying to accomplish, especially when it comes to learning. Attention span. The typical audience, teenagers or kids, you only get them for about 10 minutes. That is it. And so while using technology, it actually reduces their engagement. Because why? Because they don't have that engagement and be able to participate. That's why our kids are very good at gaming, social media, and other types of technology, because they're engaged, they're involved, they're a way of accomplishing something. Virtual learning doesn't really give them that opportunity. Why? Because you have a teacher teaching 22 to 25 kids. The engagement is not going to be there. That one-to-one won't be there unless it's requested. So does virtual learning work, and will they last 8 hours? No, I don't think they will.
And you said you had children, right? How many children do you have?
I have 3 kids. So I have a 3-year-old, which is not starting pre-K anytime soon. It's one more year. I've actually got a 10-year-old. She's going to be a 5th grader. And I have a 14-year-old going to be 15 soon, is going to be a 10th grader at Valle High School.
Okay. So you think face-to-face would be a more challenge? I mean, it would be better, right? Face-to-face learning?
Face-to-face, me personally, it has its advantages. Of course, depending on the teacher, the environment's already provided, the school that they're at, all of that encompasses what learning is all about. When a child goes into a school, that's what they're seeing. They're seeing education everywhere, posted on the walls, posted on their desk. Anywhere that they can engage, there's something they can learn. Where in your virtual environment, you have a screen. That is it. It could be a 13-inch screen up to like a 30-inch screen, and that's all they're engaging. But everything outside the environment, it's not there. It's not there for them to learn. There's no, kids in particular, like your kids in grade school, they don't have the alphabet or a pie chart or anything that really would engage them in a different aspect, but to understand the material. Now, I would never want to put a teacher at risk to go, hey, I want my kids face to face. Personally, I am not wanting to send my kids because of this, pandemic. Especially my wife being a teacher, I would never try to encourage that we need to have our kids face to face.
Okay. When schools opened up again, as a parent, what kind of safety practices do you want your district to follow?
So for me, safety is the number one thing about, and I'm talking about personal safety as a student. What kind of environment is the actual school providing when it comes to security cameras, all types of, types of forms of communication, and be able to, watch these kids over with video systems and whatnot. But now you're adding another layer. We're talking about now the personal hygiene of a child to their health. In particular, from screening the child to coming in, and then from there screening the child when they're at home to make sure the parent doesn't send them to school, because now you're not just disrupting the child's education, but you now have the possibility of disrupting other kids' education and even the teachers and staff. So I think when it comes to that, we need to relook and rethink how that is happening. I mean, a couple of years ago, we're talking about metal detectors at the door. Now we're talking about metal detectors now, and then they have to go over to a heat screening area just to make sure you don't have temperature. After that, who knows? They might just check your retina in your eyes. But all of that is what the schools are going to have to do to make these kids come in and out.
Yes. Will you be sending your children to school when the schools open up again?
So that question itself is going to be determined by the districts. The one thing that I've learned is that we follow what what the districts are trying to provide. If they can follow what your first question, or the question previous to this, about having that safety measures, not just personally, but hygiene and so forth, then that pretty much sets up the students to be able to go back to class. If they follow CDC guidelines, I don't have a problem with that, but the district needs to also prove to us that those guidelines will be actually applied. You know, because what happens is humans and everything else, at first we're strict on everything that needs to happen, but as time goes on, you become more lenient to a point where does that lead to? It can lead to what could cause another spread of the pandemic, or even worse, something else can happen. So if you're asking me if I send my kids back, if the CDC, our school district, the city is already on board to doing that, yes, I don't have a problem with that, because there's been plenty of filtering to get to that point.
Okay. Our last question for you, Mr. Mendez.
Sure, brother.
If you had one major concern about your district, what kind of question would you ask? And tell me the district that your kids go again.
My kids go to the Isleta district.
Okay, what question would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. I didn't have much time to think about it because I was really concentrating on the other ones. But this one, I think if I have one major concern, it's going to go back to the state mandated testing. I think that the way our kids are learning today is really going to affect how these kids are going to mature and in their ability to learn. It's going to also change the way they think. It's also going to change the way they process. And above all, it's going to change. Even as a district, I think they need to relook at that process. That needs to change. I think if we continue circling around the TEA or trying to figure out what's best for our kids to test, it's going to continue to hinder the way our kids are learning. Our kids were going to school to learn how to take a test. Now they're at home learning how to actually live, learn how to be educated all over again, and then you want to come back and start testing them on this. You're not going to get the results you're looking for before.
Yes, and we agree. Thank you very much, Mr. Mendez. I think that a lot of parents, a lot of teachers, everybody's watching, and they're looking at how they're going to be handling this situation as the kids go back to school. But you know, our couple of weeks, I think now it's going to be 8 weeks of virtual learning. So we have now a questions answered and answered by a parent, and
definitely, yes.
And definitely. So, Mr. Mendez, we thank you very much for taking time and coming in the show of We the People, the 915.
Thank you.
And stay on the program. Watch the program, because we have a special guest that will be answering those questions for you.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys inviting me.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening, and God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, Rico. Wow.
So that was interesting.
Yes,
that was interesting. The time.
Got a really good point. Yes,
he was really informative. He really knew what he was talking about. Maybe not everybody might agree with everything he said, but we saw his answers, and that's how he thinks, and we respect that as one of our guests. And maybe with our next guest, he will be getting some answers.
Yeah.
And the surprise has come.
All right.
Yes.
And if any of our audience have any questions, guys, drop your comments, and we'll get them. We'll get them right now, and hopefully we can ask our speakers today.
Yes.
Our guests. And
okay. So, are you ready?
Okay. Awesome.
Our next speaker, our best speaker, one of our guests has set aside a little bit of his time, which I know he's very, very, very busy.
We really appreciate it.
Yes, we really appreciate his time. His name is Xavier De La Torre from Isleta Independent School District.
Awesome. Welcome.
Mr. De La Torre. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, sir. Can you
Good
hear
evening.
me?
Good evening, Mr. De La Torre. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
We want to thank you for coming into the show. We're very honored to have you as our guest.
Thank you.
Thank
Can
you for
you
having me.
thank you, sir. Can you let the audience know who you are and what district you're coming from, sir?
I am Xavier De La Torre. I'm the superintendent of schools for the Isleta Independent School District. I am originally from California. Prior to my time in the Isleta Independent School District, I was the county superintendent of schools in Santa Clara County, California. Prior to that, I was the superintendent of schools in the Socorro Independent School District. I have spent in aggregate 10 years in the El Paso area and have come to call it home.
Wow, that's very interesting, and you have a very good experience with education. And now, as our superintendent here at Isleta, your work has showed to be very great for our schools, and we want to thank you for serving here in our city, in the city of El Paso.
Thank you.
Our first question, sir, is how is Isleta Independent School District handling different from other districts with COVID-19?
It's probably not too different, but earlier you referred, I believe, to me in my role as an expert in this. And the reality is, I think we all need to be humble enough to admit that no one is an expert in these circumstances during this unprecedented interruption to a public school system that has thrived for over 200 years. Now, but the board and I, those that work in the Isleta Independent School District, during my tenure, always tried to be very, very thoughtful, deliberate, intentional about decisions that we make. And this one certainly is probably the biggest decision that we'll ever have to make, and that is, when do you transition from the virtual platform, the distance learning platform, to the traditional face-to-face platform? When is that margin narrow enough to ask teachers to return to the classroom, to ask parents to trust us in return, and have their children return to the classroom, because we can't be cavalier about the situation that we find ourselves in. So we accepted an invitation by the Texas Education Agency to go to an intersessional year-round calendar to try and mitigate some of the learning loss that our children are experiencing. We have to keep in mind they've not been in front of a teacher for almost 6 months. They've not had a formal, structured educational experience, as Mr. Mendez mentioned, since mid-March. And especially for those students who live in an economically recessed reality, who are English learners, who have special needs, the learning loss is significant, and all students, I think, have taken a proverbial step back as a result of this interruption. Because of the city and the county's decision to restrict us from going face-to-face, and in order to lengthen the transition, we have both moved first day of school to Monday, August 17th, and we have applied for the waiver that will afford us an opportunity to rethink and reimagine what school could look like in the immediate present and 8 weeks from now, when we believe the expectation will be that students return to the classroom and that children be given the opportunity to return to the classroom. The one that I think we need to be clear about is that parents will always have the option of remaining on an online platform or sending their children back. And every day I get about as many letters and emails from parents who want schools available to their children now, as I do from parents and teachers who applaud the decision to extend the transition period for that 8-week period.
Okay, so instead of the students going back in August, they're going to go back in October, right?
Right now, it looks like we would likely be required to start the second 9-week period with at least the opportunity for those families and those students who want to come back. Recent surveys indicate that we're talking about anywhere between 20 to 30% of our students have indicated that they would come back next week if given the opportunity. We don't have the luxury or the latitude to give them that opportunity because of the city's order, but by the time we end the first 9-week period, I think it's more likely than not that both the Texas Education Agency and the governor will expect us to make schools available to those children and their families.
Okay. How can you assure the safety return of the students once they go back to school?
You can't give 100% assurance, and I think what's important to note is that for many of these students, schools are actually the safest place they can be. If you look at the latest statistics, the number of child abuse cases has increased, domestic violence in the home has increased. We have a lot of children out there whose lifeline, whose anchor was the school. And what kept them going was the social interaction that they had with their peers, their participation in athletics and the fine arts. It's been a big part of their life, certainly the older students, for so long that there is a void right now. And what may have started off as kind of cool, not to have to go to school and be able to attend courses online, I think for most students has become a burden. But what I will tell you, and just like Mr. Mendez, parents want to know that you've placed all of the elements in a position to try and mitigate, reduce the likelihood that a child or a teacher will get sick while in our school buildings, including students having their temperature taken before they board a bus or before they enter a campus, students having to wear a face mask unless they're at their workstation, shields, desk dividers, plexiglass dividers on every desk across the district, rooms being sanitized after every period, teachers moving rather than students moving, lunch being taken in the classroom, hallways being designated as one-way, social distancing being monitored and supervised vigilantly. We're prepared to do all of that, but what people have to remember is that those kids are with us 6.5, 7 hours a day. We have no control over what they do when they leave and what they may be exposed to when they're not at school. And it will be, I think, it'll be easy to assume that if a child or a teacher tests positive for the COVID-19, that it happened at school. But the reality is they spent less time at school than they spend elsewhere. And we need to remember that at least at the school, every step that they take has been deliberately planned and processed so that there are routines that do as much as you can possibly do to mitigate the spread of the virus.
Yes, and that comes and that brings me to the next question. If a staff member or a student tests positive for COVID-19, what will be the protocol to follow?
If it's a staff member, the staff member is immediately placed in the 14-day quarantine. We adhere to all of the county and state guidelines. The district does have the capacity to test our own teachers and students immediately if they indicate that they're not feeling well, or if a temperature read indicates that they have a fever. They don't have to go to their doctor unless they want to go to their own doctor. We can arrange for a child or for an adult to be tested immediately that day, so that them and their family don't have to wait 3 or 4 days to find out whether or not they've tested positive for COVID-19. If a number of students test positive, then we're required to send all of the students home. They're required to be tested, and we're also required to inform and notify all of the other parents whose children may have had contact with the student or students if that were to happen. And we've done much in the same way that we do emergency fire drills and shelter at place drills. We've worked hard with our principals and our instructional leaders, assistant principals, to make sure they know exactly what to do should somebody test positive for the COVID or indicate that they're not feeling well while they're at school.
And yes, and that was one of the questions that also was in there about practicing safety drills like the fire drill, the lockdowns, the lock-ins, the inclement weather. You're still going to be practicing those drills, right, sir?
Yes, one of the things that you have to understand is that if only 1 in 5 students or 1 in 3 students are willing to come back and participate in a traditional classroom setting, we're going to have a lot of room in all of our schools, which will allow us to establish that social distance perimeter around the students. And so I think sometimes we start thinking about, a large high school like Eastwood High School with 2,500 students. But the reality is, of those 2,500 students, we've maybe had 500 parents and students who have said, we want to come back. The rest, I believe, will wait to see what that experience looks like for the smaller group of students. And as they become more familiar with all of the elements that we have in place to mitigate the spread of the virus, and as they learn from their friends and their family that their peers are attending school and things seem to be going well, then I think we'll get more and more interest and more confidence from those parents who are reluctant to send their children, and you'll start seeing children trickling in, and we'll still be required to maintain that social distance and provide all of the PPE equipment to the adults and the students and clean the schools. And we are committed to doing that, whether or not the vaccine is discovered and made available, or whether or not the numbers decline so significantly that it gives the appearance that we've got through this pandemic.
Yes, sir. And I know a lot of parents have been asking this question, not only parents, but students as well, about sports when we go back to school. Is there going to be any sports, any curriculum activities?
Well, one of the interesting things about the public school system in Texas is that there are 2 separate and distinct authorities. One, the Texas Education governs and guides schools in terms of academic programs, accountability, which the gentleman just spoke to, and those type of things. Athletics and fine arts fall under the UIL, and the UIL is a separate and distinct entity. So there have been times when the advice that we're getting from TEA isn't consistent with the advice and the direction we're getting from the UIL. Case in point, a number of schools throughout the region attempted to start a light weight training and conditioning opportunity for students participating in fall sports, and almost within a week, each of the respective districts were reporting that, student athletes and coaches were testing positive for COVID. And then all of a sudden, that got suppressed, and we immediately ceased doing that, and the UIL supported that decision. My understanding is that while they are still attempting to have a fall sports season, they are less comfortable and confident that it will happen in August, September, October. And what we could see is we could see fall sports take place in the winter and in the spring instead of the fall. And that's assuming that we address the numbers caused by the pandemic.
Okay. And our last question, Mr. De La Torre. What will be your final statement to our viewers here in El Paso?
And I think it starts with what I said. I don't think, I think we need to be humble enough to admit that we don't have the answers. We, as educators, have spent our life focused on providing the best educational environment to students with extracurricular and co-curricular activities. And now we're being asked to make a major decision at the local level regarding somebody's health and safety. And the reality is that that's a huge responsibility for a group of educators. I've been doing this for 33 years. This has never come up before during my tenure in my lifetime. And I don't know what would make me any more of an expert than a parent or someone else. So we've relied on the medical field, the professionals, and we've been collecting data since March relative to the number of cases in the city, the number of individuals hospitalized, the death rate, and we knew well before it was, I think, made public that a spike was occurring in mid-July. And so my job and the school board, our job will be to determine when we believe that the benefit outweighs the risk. And that's got to be driven by numbers, by data, by what's happening around us. And only when I can look a parent in the eye and say it is safe for all students to return, can we open schools and require parents to send their children. I also want to be sensitive to those parents who'd like their children back in class on Monday. And I understand their argument, and I understand their perspective. Me, myself, I have 2 school-age children in California. They're going to start online, but if it were up to me and they opened the schools, I would send my children as long as all of these elements are in place back in California. Again, I think for a majority of our kids, school is as safe, if not the safest place for them to be during the day. And Mr. Mendez hit the nail on the head. You cannot compare the experience online with the experience that our students have when they are with their teachers in their classroom, at their school, surrounded by peers, with support in the way of meals and counselors and nurses and law enforcement. It's about as safe an environment as you can ask for, but we still understand that for parents and some students, they're not ready. They're still reluctant, and they have a right to be reluctant, and we have to honor that right and understand and empathize with those parents.
And we have a question, I think, from one of the parents. They wrote, once the students go back to school and social distancing is being enforced, how will the students fit in the classroom with 10 desks if there are 25 kids on the roster?
And again, I think that's one of the misconceptions, that initially, because we've surveyed parents and it appears that if we were to open schools and make them available on Monday of next week, we could likely get 20% of the 41,000 students that attend our school district. That means that a school like Eastwood that can accommodate 2,500 students would have to accommodate 500 students, which would allow us to have no more than 8 students in a classroom, 10 students in a classroom. You won't find a school in the district when we reopen that is going to put 20 students in a classroom. It is out of compliance with the directive given by the health community and the city, and we don't deviate from directives.
Okay. And we have another question.
If it's okay for him,
Is it okay to ask you these questions,
for
Mr. De La Torre?
comments, to answer some comments.
Sure. Sure.
This time around, it says, this time around distance learning, does it have a bigger, better structure? How is the student kept engaged, assignments, tracking, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's what I struggle with, and I'm going to go back to there is no replacement for the in-person, the face-to-face environment that we've become accustomed to. What I will tell you is that it is far improved from what they experienced in March, because in March we had to pivot and come up with a district-wide program for 40,000 students in about a 2-week, 3-week period. Since that time, we haven't stopped trying to improve the program. But what will be different also is that last spring, the Texas Education Agency gave us a waiver. Teachers weren't required to take attendance. Students could, as Mr. Mendez explained, collect all of the homework that was required for that week and simply go off and do it, finish it, turn it in, and if that meant that they were done in 2 days, then they had 3 additional days off that week. What's required now is that students attend class the way they normally would. So if you're a middle school student or a high school student, you have 8 classes a day. And the only way that you get credit is by logging on at the beginning of the class and logging off at the end of the class before logging on to a second class, so on and so forth. And I think the reason that's going to be more effective is because those classes are about 50 minutes. By the time the teacher takes attendance and gets everybody online and makes sure that everyone who's supposed to be there is there, they're going to get about 30 to 35 minutes with a teacher in front of them, not a teacher posting assignments and then asking the students to go and complete the assignments or go to a third-party application or software program and do assignments there. Teachers are actually required to and have committed to be in that classroom setting for 8 periods a day. Now, going back to what was said earlier, we are, just like everybody else, we're a little nervous about having or expecting children to sit there and go through an 8-class schedule every day. And it would be naive not to believe that at some point some of those students are going to become tired, disengaged, log off. But what's being risked is their credits and their attendance requirement. And we empathize with them, but under the circumstances, the only other option is to either go to a system where they come to school every other day and they work from home online, or eventually a system where we open the schools and all of these parents and students who are disappointed with the distance learning experience at least have the option of sending their children back to school.
And again, I think you've answered a lot of questions that parents have been asking, and I hope that this evening they have heard and they have they're not guessing anymore and they have their answers. So we want to wish you, Mr. De La Torre, a very good year as the year starts on Monday. We want to wish Isleta District and the teachers to stay safe, and so they could have an awesome year as well. And for you and your staff as well, we want to wish you the best of luck. May God bless each and every one of you. And we thank you for putting that time, the effort in getting ready to give the students of El Paso the best education possible.
Well, thank you. Can I just say one last thing?
Yes,
it
sir,
is.
sure, yes.
It is unlikely that even with all the planning and all of the brightest minds in the city that I believe work in the Isleta Independent School District, sometimes things are not going to go exactly as planned. And we hope that we are extended a little bit of patience as we work through it. Again, this is something unprecedented, and it will take time to get really good at both the distance learning piece. We need to be patient with our teachers. They're being asked to do something that many of them have never done and didn't go to school to do. And they've been great, and we work closely with the association, the Teachers Association, and so we're all student-centered on this, but we also know that we don't know everything. And then when we go to face-to-face, we do appreciate your trust and your confidence in this school district. The school district has accomplished a lot, achieved a lot in the last 5-6 years, almost 7 years actually, and we don't want to do anything to tarnish our reputation as one of the best options for parents and students in the city.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. And we're here to serve the community, to serve the El Paso districts. When we could do whatever we have to, we will be supporting our districts. And again, best of luck in this new year, and that we may face these changes together and try to work them out the best way possible.
Thank you very much. You all have a great night.
You too, sir. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
Okay, Rico. Wow,
that was intense.
We have so many things, like, and it's like this, like saying, the schools are trying to do whatever they can. They're not experts on a virus.
Yeah, they're not.
It's just, I don't know, man. I mean, I think they deserve a lot of the support.
Yes.
And like he said, parents, please be patient. It's a new thing for them. It's a new thing for teachers. I got a brother who's a teacher as well. I got two of them actually. Yeah. So
yeah, they're everything changed for us. Everything from education to business to hospital. Our life changed 180 degrees, even more, because teachers are trying to accommodate, everyone. Make sure that everybody's getting their computers, their books. Teachers are preparing to teach class virtually and at the same time teach. So all those things are very difficult. And I do, as a parent, I want to be, as a parent, I'm in the education field. I want to give those teachers patience, and whatever I could do as a parent to support the teacher or to back her up in whatever decision she takes to teach or how she's going to do things, I'm going to support her and not criticize her. Just like Mr. De La Torre said, they're working, and they're working year round, and they were just getting the teachers prepared best way possible with lessons, and some of them were, unexpected. All of us were, pretty much.
Yeah, it hit everybody by surprise.
It hit everybody by surprise.
Struggling. Yeah, I can see my brother sometimes struggling.
Yeah, and everybody's
with meetings and everything.
Everybody's tense right now. Everybody's like tense, but I know for a fact that Isleta, El Paso, Socorro, Clint, Canutillo, Santa Teresa, Gadsden, Fort Stockton, Clint, everyone, they're going to try their best. I know for a fact, for our children, for the kids to have the best way, the best virtual experience, to get ready. So big props to all the districts here in El Paso.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And we applaud you. We applaud you.
Oh, yeah.
We applaud all the teachers, all the educators, all the nurses,
everybody,
all the administration, principals, assistant principals, and all the superintendents of El Paso.
Because it's nobody's fault.
No,
it's nobody's fault, and it was unexpected.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
We have somebody coming coming into the show?
Yes, we have a couple of more. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Yes, if you guys, one more thing. If you guys have any questions for any of our, live guests today, please comment below, and I will bring it up to Rico. That way he can get those, you guys can get an answer from our guest live speakers. Okay, so, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Yes.
Okay. We are back. Here we go. We needed to press the unmute button.
oh yeah. Before you do that.
Yeah, make sure your microphone is on, my friend.
Yes. And I need to put my headset because if not, I won't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It's been an interesting evening, and just as I was coming over here, I was watching the news, and they're in another state somewhere up there. It was coming out that they had sent, they already started school, and all the kids went in, and I think it was about 100 kids that got exposed and to COVID. Wow. So I know that every city is different. Every city is handling it different. Every district from every city is handling it different. And just like Mr. De La Torre said, they're not the experts, but they're trying to bring solutions to the situation the way possible. And just like he was telling us, they're getting ready in all the areas of starting school, as far as the virtual to safety, and as they go back to school in October.
I must have missed it because I'm here behind this, just trying to. But did he talk about, were they testing students before they? I mean, if they see anyone that's symptomatic, or if they feel like, is there any testing? Did he mention any at schools?
He did mention that if someone gets exposed,
available.
It would be available to the students. Yes.
Okay.
To the student and to the teacher.
And they're also going to take temperature. So
yes,
I think that's really important because, well, I mean, not that this virus has like so many symptoms. We don't even know where it starts, right? But fever is one big hint right there, right?
Every school is going to be, that I know of, every school is required to take temperature.
That's really good.
Yes, so that's one of the requirements of the
they're
safety
also
issues.
Able to test the person, right?
Yes.
Okay, like I said, they're doing it, but okay. I mean, so who do we have here?
We have a guest. His name is JC.
JC, let's get JC on there. And if you want to just repeat what the topic is about, in case someone new logs in.
Our topic for today is going to be back to school. Back to school. And we are hearing from parents, and we just heard from Mr. Xavier De La Torre from Isleta Independent School District talk to us about how Isleta is handling and how they're going to be starting the new year, and he answered a lot of questions. So if you missed it, I encourage you that after the show, you go back and listen to what Mr. De La Torre has to say, and as well as Mr. Frank Mendez, as well as a parent had to say.
And who is our next live speaker?
Our next live speaker, his name is JC.
Is he a parent? Teacher?
Yes, he's a parent
Okay.
and also an educator.
Awesome. Okay. And we are on.
Mr. JC, how are you doing this
Hey, how are you
evening?
guys? Good, yourself?
Hello.
Good. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, at the moment I am an administrator at Emmanuel Christian School here in Central El Paso, Viscount and Hawkins. So we're going through the same process that many schools are going through in the reopening.
And what does a student expect on their first day of virtual learning of in your school? But I believe your school already started, right, Mr. JC?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we started yesterday, and day before yesterday on Monday, and the expectations, of course, is it was kind of like a continuance of, when the schools closed down in March, and the students had to go and kind of finish school that way online. However, after the closing, after the COVID, we had some time, as many other schools did, to just start trying to come up with a better solution, a better, I guess, just system of how to reopen school. And right now, with the decisions coming out from Washington, decisions coming out of the state, decisions coming out of the city, we reopened on Monday, and we just had to tweak a lot of the ways we could do it online. So we're right now, instead of trying to like Zoom and doing Google meetings and stuff like that, we went ahead and are using what's called High Five. And High Five is another online educators tool to be able to teach online. They have their own TV set up. They have a speaker where no matter where the teacher is walking from, they could be heard, and they have that interaction with the students. So the first 3 days have been an experience. The first day is always the roughest, I think, in any school. The first day is going to be the roughest. But these past 2 days have been better, and I know there's glitches like everything else that we have to overcome, look at. But so far, these 3 days have turned out well.
Since it's a private school and it's a Christian school, right? It's not connected to the city. What's the challenge on that?
Well, as everything else, there's pros and cons of a private school. I would say the cons is that we don't take, or we don't have state funds. Every public school is designated and is given state funds. We are not. So we are tuition based. What does that mean? That parents pay for their child to have that private education. What is the plus about that? Smaller classes, more one-on-one with the teachers, and then of course we are not battling maybe the things that the bigger public schools are in spacing and all that. I mean, we have large classrooms, and we're able to fit those students every year. As a matter of fact, the school averages about 450 to 500 students every year. This in itself presented something new, but I guess the pro would be that being a large classroom setting with not packed students have allowed us to do this. The next step that will be coming up at home, of course, everybody's on their own. There's no difference between public and private right now because everybody's doing it online. But once the students come back, that will, I guess, it kind of gives us an advantage because we have fewer numbers to work with and so forth.
Mm-hmm. How will you monitor the engagement of the students during the virtual learning?
As a matter of fact, I think that's one of the things that all teachers, no matter where, are going to have to deal with because, especially elementary, when you get to middle school, when you get to junior high and high school, you could actually, you have their attention, and it's by charisma, by by just the type of lecturer you are and so forth. It's the small ones, no matter what, that are so distracted with everything else. And as a matter of fact, just this past week, a teacher was telling me that one of her students fell asleep after 30 minutes. They were just asleep on the desk. Another student was snacking the whole time. Another student, believe it or not, put their Chromebook next to a pool, and they were doing laps while the teacher was teaching. So, I mean, what can you do? The teacher's not there. You can't go out there and say, hey, get that away. It's up to the parents to do their best to be able to say, maybe say, hey, make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're focused and all that. So that would be probably the biggest thing, is keeping elementary kids, I guess, just focused. And that has to do with the help of the parents. It takes a lot of help from the parents.
Yes. What changes have the teachers done from the last semester or from last year as far as student interaction?
Well, one of the biggest changes that has to happen and is in the area of technology. I mean, every teacher does a lesson plan. Every teacher does a certain way that, have been taught as they went to school and learned the process about teaching and interaction. But because of COVID, of course, I think that teachers have had to adjust and accept that they need to step it up in the area of technology. There's so much that we can learn. There's still things that we need to learn, but there's so much stuff out there that is available. For example, this high five system that we're using, and I'm sure the other public schools in Socorro and Isleta and El Paso are using some kind of system. But it is, I think, harder for teachers to learn the technology part than it is for students, and that has been an adjustment.
Yes, and that's what Mr. De La Torre said. Mr. De La Torre from the superintendent from Isleta Independent School District, that
Right.
some of the teachers, they know how to teach, but a lot of them have to gotten adjusted to teaching online.
Right.
I know that you are a teacher as well, right? So are you going to be teaching from your classroom or from home?
No, at the moment, I don't teach. I stopped teaching some while ago. So for me, like today, I was just really going from class to class, asking especially new teachers, have you adjusted? Is there something we could do for you? How's the high five program? How's everything going? How's the interaction with the student? So far, right now, it's just the administrative part of seeing that things are going by. Of course, we do have a head of school that is hands-on with our students and with our teachers and with our administration. However, as I work in that private school sector, I still work with him and just doing our best to go through this new process that we're going through.
If a staff member or a student tests positive for COVID, what will be the protocol to follow?
Well, for example, I think I just heard you saying that we will, once students come back in September the 8th, we will be taking their temperatures in their car, while they're in their car. Then they will be allowed to come in. And then once they're there, if a student, and this is advised and told to the parents, if a student at any moment feels sick, you go directly to the nurse. She will test you again, and then depending on what comes out, then that student is sent home, and from there we take the next process. And if it means having to maybe quarantine the classroom, that will happen. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we will be receiving some other kind of most of the places are using those guns for testing and for temperature. We're using some stationary ones that are on the building, that are on the wall, and that way students walk up to it, either put their forehead or put their arm on the on the radar thing or on the pointer, and it beeps and lets them know if they're at the right temperature or not. So there's so many things that are available for us to get a better grasp of the safety precautions that we need to take for the students.
Okay. What will be your final statement to our viewers here in El Paso?
I would say this. I think more and more we see that students and parents really want their kids to go live, to attend school. Believe me, there's so many good things right now online that we need to be ready for, prepared for in case a lockdown happen again. All those things are good. Believe me. I mean, it's what the options we have right now. However, there's nothing like learning in a classroom, interaction with a teacher, having students around you, learning together, reinforcing each other together. But also, this has changed how we do school, no matter if we like it or not. We have to take those safety precautions from now on in so many ways. I mean, we are receiving, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're receiving a UV light that we will be using to disinfect rooms. I mean, all that has been changed. But students and parents, I see it, want their kids to attend school and be part of a classroom setting. They learn and they grasp so much more, and you have their attention. So I just encourage for parents to do their best to be able to provide that for their kids to go back to school.
Mr. Mendez, Mr. De La Torre, and as well as you are in one accord on kids going back to school, because that's the best way to learn. As a minister, what would you tell the audience in El Paso?
Well, you know what, and this is not talking about religion. This is not talking about anything. It's just, you know what, during this time we've had to learn so much, and at this time we just have to trust in God that He gets us over this. And it's a time where we need to come together as we did a year ago in August the 3rd, where the city came together. Well, now we need to come together as a country, as a nation. We need to come together as a city, as a community, and do our best, not only for us, but for the future generations that are our children. And for us at Emmanuel Christian School, we do this. We offer top quality education, but of course, it's also Bible based, so that for us is encouraging. But just let everybody know that God has control of this. You know, God's not going to let us go. He's going to get us through this, and we're going to be better, at a better place, and learning so much through this. But it's all because we lean on God for our trust, understanding, and our hope.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. JC. We wanna wish you the best of a year at Emmanuel School, and we applaud your teachers, your staff members, your cleanup crew, everybody that's involved in making the school a better place. And we wish you the best of luck, and may God bless you. God bless each and every one of you. And we thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on. Enjoy it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Evening.
Thank you. Okay. So
wow, that's already three.
That's already three.
Three El Pasoans, a private school, a parent, and Mr. De La Torre.
Mr. De La Torre, yes.
About they all agree.
They all agree to send their children.
Yes, to school.
To school.
But of course, taking all the precautions and everything.
We might have people that might disagree as well, but you guys are welcome to join the show. If we have time still, right? I don't know. What do we have?
We're going to be taking we're going to be taking a short break.
Okay.
But we'll be right back with our next guest. So
okay, and we want to ask the audience, get involved. You know what I mean? Let us know if you guys have any questions for our live guest speakers today, because that's what the show's about.
Yes.
We, the people of the 915, is to communicate with everybody out there. We're just transmitting. We're just the hosts.
Yes, we're not the experts. We're not the ones that are
we want you all to engage with our live guests.
Yes, and like we said before, no one here is an expert, and no one knows everything. So We want to reach out to the people that could best give us answers. And we had already one, Mr. De La Torre, talking about what Isleta Independent School District is doing to prepare for the virtual learning coming up on Monday, and when they come back to school in October, how they're going to get ready to open up. And we just heard from Mr. JC how Emmanuel has already started and virtually, and he also said about parents engaging, parents making sure that their kiddos are learning. And Mr. Mendez, as he as well concerned parent, wants the best for his children. And if you have any questions, any ideas, send us a text.
Yeah, comment
at what you wanna hear, and we'll try to give you the best answer.
If we have time, we could get you in the show.
We could get you in the show, of course. Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick pause, right?
Yes, sir.
And then we're gonna get on with our next live guest today.
Yes.
Right? All right, here we go. We'll be right back, guys. Okay, Rico, we're back in live. Hey,
you said earlier, your family has teachers.
Yeah, I have two brothers. Yeah,
how are they doing?
Well, they're doing all right. I mean, I see one that's they're more busier than before. They're trying to organize themselves and how everything's going to work with I guess like how Mr. De La Torre was saying, right? The classrooms, the space, all that. I mean, there's a lot of things too, and also with the virtual learning. Yeah, it's I see them like just busy and busy. Honestly,
I wonder how new teachers, the ones that graduated from college or from UTEP or other places, and coming to our city or other cities, I wonder. How hard it's been for them to adapt and learn.
Oh yeah, I mean
they and it's good because they graduated, right? They reached their goal and they got their diploma, and they say, here you go, but coming into a pandemic like this, Mr. De La Torre said, he's in all his experience in being in education, he's never had to deal with something like this. And just like anybody else, everyone, no one expected this to happen. And now that it happened, they're having to find ways to work together, and everything that the districts, all the districts that are doing, all the changes and there are many changes in every school district, because every school districts do things different, and they're getting their teachers ready for what's to come.
This time they're doing it. Everybody's following the same protocol, right? The same.
Yeah, they're
pretty sure
they're trying to follow what the city and what the government is telling them to do. CDC, everybody, all the guidelines that they need to, all the safety protocols. But right now, what's the difficulty, just like Mr. JC was saying, a kid was doing laps while listening to the program, or to listening to the teacher, and that's not the right way.
Yeah.
You know, the computer could fall in the swimming pool, and the parents are gonna have to pay for a new laptop. And
well, no. Honestly, I think it's really difficult to learn. I don't know, for some people, right? For me, I'll be honest. You know what I mean? And I know I'm live here, but it takes, it takes a while for me to like try to read, and like I'll learn better when somebody's teaching me how to do things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, some people
face to face. I'm a face to face person.
Yeah.
I need to see the teacher. I need to see to learn and be more engaged and everything.
Because if not, you get distracted. There's a lot of people that are daydream. Imagine kids. I still daydream to this day. I could be doing this and I'm daydreaming in something, else or whatever I have to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. I just see it really hard for for kids, honestly, to just be in the computer virtually, like not distracted with anything else, because they can literally just walk up, you know what I mean? Go maybe play some ball real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. They could be watching the teacher online on the computer, but at the same time they're over here snacking or
texting or
texting.
Knows, right?
The high school, the middle school, they're texting their girlfriend, or they're texting their friends. And,
I don't know.
But that's one of the
But what do the parents? Yeah, the rest of the parents think about this. I've heard of some parents that are like, yes, I want my kids to go to school. They need it. It's healthy for them. You know what I mean? They need to be around other kids, but it's not going to be like before. I don't think everybody's going to go out there and start, hanging out with each other in groups. I think they're going to very separate everybody. Kind of reminds me like you're like maybe in a program isolation, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just like everybody's like within certain feet, right?
Well, I mean, the thing is that there's already, the school. I asked Mr. De La Torre about the school, about the sports. They're going to be evaluating that as well. But I go to the park and there's already people playing sports.
Yeah.
Some of them are taking precaution. They're wearing masks. Some other ones are not. There's already football teams practicing. Tackle football teams from the city, and they're already going to have games on Saturday. So
that's hard. I mean, when it comes to sports, though, imagine
and then
having
you
a
go
mask
to a skate park,
Yeah.
And most of the kids there don't have a mask.
Well, I mean,
so everybody has a different views.
They do.
And everybody has their way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we call freedom of, freedom of speech, freedom of whatever.
Freedom of speech, you guys can
So,
say.
I mean, everybody has,
What do you think?
everybody knows and thinks different.
Exactly.
And, but what's concerned right now,
So I'm seeing both sides, honestly. At first I'd seen one side, but then after the other shows, hearing these other people, I'm like, oh, no, wait a second. We got to hear everybody's side.
yeah,
Not everybody's immune system is like super, you know what I mean? Not everybody is the same. And we gotta be conscious, right? Of everybody, you know what I mean? Have a conscience for everybody else, like not just for, say us and us, just we, and what about them, everybody else, right?
yeah. Well, we heard about the girls last week.
Yeah.
They were both in their 30s, and one of them was there for a month, and the other one, she up to today she has an oxygen tank. So we wish her also best of luck, and that she may but they both may recover soon. But I think time has run out.
Did we get another person in there, Rico?
No, I don't think so.
I have 3 persons standing by there. I'm not sure.
Let's see.
I'm not sure if you want to really shoot that message for them. Let them know that we are live.
Yeah,
if they want to come into the program. If anybody else at this point, before we wrap it up, wants to say something, we had an amazing guest speakers today. We learned a lot from them.
Very much.
All the way through. Mr. De La Torre, right?
Yes.
the superintendent from Isleta. So it was just amazing. And if you guys want to go back to the video, watch it at the beginning. He's explaining, mostly everything that they're doing.
Yes, everything
For the
that
schools,
Isleta's
if you're a
doing.
parent, you know what I'm saying, what to expect, what the children are going to expect when they go to school. So, pay attention to it, guys. And, and I feel parents out there that are also scared to send their kids out there to school because, the least you want to also listen to is, man, my kids got infected and now they're battling in the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's another one. And then another thing too is how are kids going to learn, right? At home.
And the only way to learn, like they were saying, all three guests, all three guests, Mr. Mendez, Mr. De La Torre, and JC is learning in school, but at the same time, taking those precautions.
They are, and they're working very hard.
And they will.
We need to support our schools, guys. You know what I mean? The teachers, be patient with them. Like they said, it's nobody's fault this happened, and they got to learn something totally new. Like they got to learn a lot of things that they don't even know that much about. I mean, who's an expert on COVID-19 on this? Nobody. Even our medical science and all that, our science, our science guys are still going at it.
They're still learning how to deal with this.
They're still trying to learn how this is working. So be patient with the schools and and the teachers and everything. I think that's really important to really right away something happens. Don't go after the schools. Understand that this can happen anywhere. Outside, anywhere. I mean, teachers and directors of schools and all that, principals, the whole staff, they're trying to do whatever they can, just like Mr. De La Torre said, but they are really, really, really paying attention to it and doing their best and trying to make, our kids safe. So
if our staff gets a hold of El Paso or Socorro or any other district, we'll let them know and we'll bring them in the show so they can also speak on behalf of their district. So that'll be another time.
I think that's a wrap up, Rico.
Yes, sir.
But we want to thank everybody, including our guest speakers, guys. We the 915 People is a show where you guys can voice your opinion, right? Let us know you want to come out on the show. Suggest topics as well. Let us know what you want us to bring up as a topic. And, we are here to, basically engage with the audience, you know what I mean? And have our guest speakers as well, engage with our audience. And that's what it's all about. We're just the host and we have the program, and this is what it's for. Real talk, real people.
Yeah.
And, me and Rico.
Yes.
So I didn't have my coffee today.
Yeah, you didn't have your coffee.
I looked all tired.
Anxiety
I didn't have my coffee today. It's been 3 days without coffee, so It's been hard. I gave up coffee for a while, guys, because I've been feeling like coffee's been taking over my life. Mm-hmm. I can't sleep. So I was like, I gotta stop it. Yes.
We're gonna pray for your wife.
Yes. Anyways, Rico.
Well, we want to thank you. Thank you, Frank, for hosting the program again, and we want to thank each and every one of you for watching this show. It was a special one because we had answers answered by representatives here from El Paso, and we want to wish all the El Paso school districts, as well as New Mexico, everyone, El Paso, just to have a good year. I know that this is a big change for everyone, a big process, but I think together we could do it. Together we could move on. So may you have a good week, and we'll see you next week, God willing. Be safe, stay safe, and may God bless you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next topic. Let us know what you want to hear, what you want to talk about. Bye-bye. Adios.
Adios.